Hey Roy, how you doing?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty good. Been feeling in Mercury retrograde this week.
Oh, really? What's a Mercury retrograde?
It happens about 4 times a year. It lasts about 3 weeks.
Hmm.
Mercury is sort of a elliptical orbit, and
Oh,
it does. It's not a circular, it's sort of a elliptical. And some part of the orbit, it looks like it's moving backwards. It does
oh
this four
wow.
times a year in the orbit, and things go real wacky during those 3 weeks. I mean, if
Oh,
you're not
really?
paying
Do you have
attention.
any examples? Hi,
uh,
Kevin.
Oh
How's
my
it going?
God. Well, today I was looking for some dragon fruit plants, and everywhere I went, man, nobody had any. It was like I couldn't believe it.
Oh, wow.
It
Yeah,
shouldn't be
well,
any
that's
problem.
that's pretty interesting. I mean, you know,
It,
one thing Young said. I mean, his hi, Gary. The the person that introduced Young and got him to do the lectures at ETH, his last name was Rohn, and his daughter Lillian Fry Rohn was an expert at astrology and astronomy, and she could tell you anything. And Young, at that point, when you had the old 19th century scholars, you know, who were just, I mean, like Jacob Burckhardt and who is the guy that wrote The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. I mean, these guys that were just unbelievably, uh, broad. Their their scholarship was just incredible. But Young said that they could just listen to you talk and tell you what year, what month, and pretty much what day you were born. And he said they reminded him of a cat breeders. A cat breeder can tell you whether they're spring kittens or fall kittens by just watching them play. So there's this aspect of the Tao of this moment has a cyclical quality to it. And what was interesting too was, there is it's the pair. There's something in the Mysterium book by Young called the Peregrinations of Michael Meyer. You know, but he describes that when we're born, we go through the seven planets, and each archon of the seven planets gives us a quality, you know, and then so until we're born. So now these are the qualities that we possess during our life, and we were given to them as we descended through the seven planets. Well, Michael Meyer goes up the seven planets. Actually, I think it was Hermes. It was Hermes Trismegistus goes up through the seven planets and gets to the highest heaven. But then he knew his strength would only be perfected when he returned to the earth. Human beings are not meant to be in the air. So then when he comes down through each one of the seven planets, so now he's on a second descent. He does what he calls de-beards each archon. And as he de-beards or depotentiates them, he is now liberated from his karma or his fate or whatever it is. Anyway, I kind of just love that story, but it is there were the fact that there are people that can do that, and like Young himself stopped throwing the I Ching because he knew what the result would be before he threw it, because he'd become a living toss of the I Ching, So, I mean, it's just this idea of the quality of this moment. What is the quality of this moment? You know, it has a quality that is never going to return. Anyway, Roy was saying that he's in the Mercury retrograde, and because of its elliptical orbit, sometimes it looks like it's going backwards instead of in its normal revolution. You know. So anyway, how's Gary doing? And hi, Dawn. You know, I was going to start with Ivan's dream.
Doing
Go ahead,
well,
Gary.
but I noticed you had your name fixed in the other meeting, but now
Oh
it's
yeah,
back.
it doesn't take me long to fix it. I just, I'm just too lazy to go in and do a permanent fix. So I will
It's too funny.
not impersonate you. So,
Well, people would be quite impressed with me, though. I would actually,
No, I
because I
don't
think
know
how it
about
would
that.
work, you know.
yeah, wasn't that fun in that first thing of the black books? I mean,
Oh my
did you get a
God,
chance
that's
to watch
like
them?
it's just, you know, I love reading it because it's like it's so human, you know, and you're
I
just
know.
like, oh my gosh, you know, he went through all these same feelings and stuff, you know, and then all the doubts, and it's like, and it's like it's just like it's just so much more immediate.
Yeah, and what's going to be interesting is as he adapts, and he's very adaptable, and as he adapts to this universe and starts to grasp its laws and its rules, he becomes like this very self-confident magician in the inner world, and one of the things he told everybody, and I don't think this is for people with advanced degrees, is he purposefully, very aggressively would challenge the other person in there. And you're going to find things in there that you won't see in the I was a little hard on his first dialogue, because he repeats it over and over again, that and I think I should make sure I say that again, that the only way to the unfathomable is through this life. I think what he's saying is that you're not going to get it from a scripture, I mean, and there's another part where he says that your law is no one else's law. The law, or the root, or the rhizome from which you spring, is no one else's root or rhizome. It's your law, So no one else can live that life, I mean, in other words, your unfolding is unique only to you. So you can't go get it from some other person. I mean, that's what the wisdom of the depths say, anyway. Well, anyway, if Ivan shows up, I've got his dream, or if Charles shows up, I've got his dream. But does anyone here have a dream? I've got some too. Dawn, you're always welcome to give a dream. I mean, if you've got one, or if you have any questions about the voices that you hear, or in your dreams. I had a bunch of voices the other day. They were very nonsensical, but it was, young. There's one part in the Black Books where he reads a bunch of nonsensical statements of his that he couldn't make any head or tail of his the voices he heard, but I could just read you some of them. Now, see, these were just random statements that I heard, go with the wind. I'm confused about where a car is. The time is not right. I am confused, but there were explosive digestive things. arise from your adoption dreams. You know, these are one standalone things I heard here. You know, all I know is they're animals right now. And then one voice says, "I would throw this one away." Now, can't make anything. You know, if I take 4 of them, put them together, I bet I can do something with it. But anyway, does anybody have a dream that they'd like to discuss? Roy or Kevin or Gary?
I think Gary's due.
You have one,
Yeah, I
Gary?
think Gary.
I'm like so overdue for a dream. If I had any, I would give it to you. It's like, you know, I've been having weird sleep issues. So.
Yeah, well, my wife, you know, I take melatonin and B6, you know, and that tends to tends to produce dreams, you know, and my wife, you know, asked, and I do this too, and this is very helpful, to ask the dream maker to give us a dream, and then also to remember the dream, you know, and my wife often says if she wakes up at odd times, that she will have, she'll pick up a dream, you know. Dawn says, when you use the word voices inside, I feel the way a person does when someone scratches chalk along a chalkboard. I can get one if no one else has one. A dream, I mean, unless you want to wait for him to show up for his dreams. Well, Dawn, if you do have one, why don't you put it in the chat, and we'll get going on it. But remember that what we're doing is we're trying to amplify it as if it was our own dream. So typically what you do before a dream is you, so in other words, if anything we say is alarming about your dream, don't take it personally, you know. But I don't think there's been anything alarming, really, has there been? I think the one thing is I tend to think that this is that the ego is the mediator between the two worlds, you know, is trying to create a symbol. And so what the dream is trying to do is it's trying to give us a series of statements. And Dawn is saying they sound like chalk on a chalkboard. In other words, they're irritating and seem. Now, let me just say this, Dawn, that when they are like chalk on a chalkboard, that means that they are in a complementary to the ego in an unpleasant way. You know, in other words, the ego is finding that they're not really. The ego does not like them. I mean, at least the ego attitude doesn't like them. Now, when we have a nightmare, you know, too, the ego attitude doesn't like them. But what the dream or the soul told Jung, and she identified herself as the dream maker. She said that I do that because you, I want you to feel the pain we're feeling from you not helping us out here. Okay, let's look at her. She's got a couple dreams here. All right, let's start with this one. Okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure, Dawn.
Since I'm a slow typer, I didn't explain what I was trying to say too well about when you use the word voices. For a long time, I didn't know anybody else that said they heard voices, so I felt like there was something wrong with me, and so I kind of distanced myself from that and like pretended that it didn't happen. And so I don't like the word voices, and so that's why I said when you use that word, it makes me feel uncomfortable inside. You know, the feeling you get when someone's.
Yeah. Well, you know, the one thing as far as I'm concerned, and like Gary was just saying, um, when we get an image, it is a fruit that we've been given by the psyche. Like the ones that Charles gets. I mean, he just gets them all the time. But as far as I'm concerned, when I get a dream, I'm very grateful. I'm full of gratitude, to it. Now, um, maybe if we're unfamiliar of what the import of the dream is or the voices are, and, I just read you a bunch that don't make any sense to me, uh, I don't know how random they are. They don't seem to have any meaning, but what's interesting about them is they're and this is what's interesting. What got Jung started on this, his unique approach, was that he found out he was not the master in his own house. In other words, he's living in a house, and he finds out that he doesn't own it. Somebody else owns his house. And he's somewhat of an intruder in it or whatever. But so who owns the house? I mean, that's the idea. And what how should I be related to the person who owns the house? So anyway, Dawn, let's start on this dream. And again, we're just going to go at it as if it's one of our dreams. Okay. I'm going to see if I can get this a little in a Word document. Let me see here. I always can look at it a little better in a Word document. If you notice, I have my glasses on quite a bit because I don't see very well, unfortunately. I see really fine when I'm doing anything but reading. Okay, so let's start with this first dream. I'm standing behind my front door. I had a blue cat with horns in my arms. I tried fast to get out the door so that I could show people this magical cat. Once on the porch, I looked and saw its horns were gone. A guy I did not know came up to me and told me that it was time for me to give the cat back, that it was not mine to keep. He said it belonged to an old woman that had made it when she was lonely. I didn't want to give it back. I looked down and the animal was lying as if dead on the ground. It was no longer a cat, but looked to me like a horse from a carousel. Its body was lying open, and inside it, it seemed to have mechanical parts that had been pulled out of it. Okay. That's a wonderful dream. So let's just start. Now, what I do on these, every dream means nothing when I first look at it, but I just take each statement as a standalone. Okay, so I'm standing behind my front door, and you have a blue cat with horns in your arms. Okay, so you're in the house. That means you're within the psyche. You're at a door. So a door is usually opens up to some unexpected thing. I mean, you're in a door. It's closed. You open it up, and you're going to let in things that are not particular to the room that you're in. Now, you're standing behind it, your front door. So this would be the door that faces the conscious attitude. The back door would face would be far from the stream of life, farther from the stream of life. Now, you have a blue cat with horns in your arms. Okay, so it is a magical cat. The cats aren't blue. Cats don't have horns. and you're holding this cat, and it is blue. So it's the color of the sky. So there's an aspect of it that it might be related to spirit. Now it has horns. So what animals have horns? Usually bulls have horns. Now bulls or sheep or goats, but were the horns a particular? Did they look like the horns of any animal that we know? You can either say it in the chat or just say it out loud.
They weren't large. They fit the size of the head of the cat. They were just small horns.
Okay. Did they look like just a little, like a cow or like a goat or like a?
Maybe.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. Anyway, let's say they were a cow's horns, then that would be the lunar bull. So it'd be related to the moon. If it's a goat's horns, then it would, I think, be related also to a deep. The moon is related to deeply feminine attitude. If it was more of a goat horn, it would be similar to what Pan has, and also since he's the son of the mother, it would be related to a female. So you have a blue cat with horns. So it seems to possess both spirit and the eternal feminine. So it almost seems to be a symbol of magical wholeness. Okay, because it seems to be contains both the feminine and the masculine, or the logos and eros, are both in it. So it's this it is a being of healing. It is a being which possesses the opposites, and contains the opposites. So anyway, it's a magical cat. You can't deny that. So we tried fast to get out the door so that you could show people what you had. This is a miracle, a magical cat. So now you're at the front door. You go outside into the more conscious attitude from the interior of the psyche. All our houses represent our in total psyche. And, often we find rooms like in Ivan's dream or houses that we don't know what all the rooms are. But anyway, it represents the psyche that is that the ego lives in. Okay. So, I mean, we live in the house, but the house is not us. The house is someone else. So there's an aspect of we and the house are share a life together, but the house is not us. Okay, so now you go out onto the porch. So you're going to the outer world, into the conscious world, and then you look down. The cat isn't magical anymore. So it's lost its horns. Now, was it still blue? You remember? If it changed colors too, or was it?
When it first lost the horns, it was still blue.
Okay.
But then when it was a horse, it was not blue anymore.
Okay. All right. So eventually it loses its qualities. It's magical. I mean, just absolutely exquisite wholeness that it possesses, that no one would not be impressed by that. Okay. And that now a guy who I did not know, which would tend to be the animus. So this would be the bridge to the inner world, comes up to you, and he's in a figure of authority too. So that's another sign that he is probably the animus. The animus is the woman's soul, okay, or the woman's bridge to the inner world. You know, now, man tends to be a air being, a spirit being who lacks earth, lacks feminine, lacks relationship. He's all about discrimination and clarifying, where and words, okay, where the feminine tends to be about bringing together, nurturing, fostering, and there's no words there. What the earth provides does not need words. It's beyond words. You know, it's particularly nature. There are no words or systems of thought that can possibly contain boundless life. You know, I mean, I forget who said that, but it was I never forgot it. But so anyway, this animus figure comes up to us, and he tells us that it was time for us to give the magical cat back, because it was not ours to keep. Okay, it's not ego's to keep. Okay, ego's not going to own the magical wholeness. You know, it can be in its presence, but it would never own it. You know, so he said it belonged now to an old woman. Okay, it belonged to the Great Mother. Okay, the source of all life. He says it belongs to the old woman, and she had made it when she was lonely. In other words, she's very neglected. She's feeling neglected. The internal feminine is feeling neglected. And so when she is alone and being ignored by ego, she creates this this object of fascination. Now, the anima tends to be extremely fascinating. Okay. Now, why is it necessary for the anima to be so fascinating? To create energy. See, if she's fascinating and she attracts, she creates an energy in us that she becomes irresistible. We must find her mystery. We must find what she's all about. So anyway, the eternal feminine, when she was feeling neglected and ignored by ego, created this beautiful symbol of wholeness. It's a living symbol of wholeness, you know. Now, the ego did not want to give back this beautiful, magical being, you know, the blue cat with horns. But she looks down, and this is probably why the animus told us that, it can't survive in the outer world. It's not a being that can exist in banal reality. So she looks down at this this thing that we can only really encounter in the inner world, and it's this being that we can only really encounter in the inner world, in the outer world, is not going to be. It's not in its native land, and so now it lies dead on the ground. So it's no longer a cat, but it turns into a horse from a carousel. Okay, so and now a horse tends also to be a classic animal figure for the animus, for the masculine bridge to the self. And so now this feminine thing in the outer world is transformed. In other words, it lost its blue cat and its horn qualities when it was taken out of its inner sanctum and brought out into the outer world. Now it is becoming the only way that it can exist in the outer world. So in the outer world, it becomes like a one of these wooden horses from a carousel. Okay, its body is lying open, and inside it, it seemed to have mechanical parts that had been pulled out of it. So it's no longer living. It's not alive anymore. So now it's become a fact. You know, it's not this magic object of fascination when we bring it into the outer world. You know, so you know, I'm just going to try to sum this up, and then we'll hear some comments from other people. But I think it's a beautiful, beautiful dream. And now I'm just going to say, if I had this dream, what I would think if this is my dream is that the world in the outer world is not the same as the inner world, and I cannot bring, you know what Jesus said, don't cast your pearls before swine. You know, the treasure hard to attain, which the blue cat with horns is definitely is the treasure hard to attain. The mystery that we seek is the blue cat with horns. This will not exist in three-dimensional space and time, because it's beyond time, it's beyond space. It's an eternal being, and remember, eternal does not mean everlasting or divine. It means that it's outside of time, you know, external to time. Eternal means external to time. Okay, well, anyway, that's a start to it. Let's hear, Roy, what do you think?
Well, if it was my dream, what I'm getting is this blue cat with horns is the most valuable thing that Dawn Marie has. It's an inner thing like an inner child. It can't be taken to the outside world because it's not ready for it, and it might never be able to go to the outside world. You have to develop a different persona to the outside world and hide the blue cat with horns and hide the kitten. It's very valuable. Protect it with everything you have. It really is yours. The outside world is trying to dupe you on this, I believe, to diminish this idea, or to take it away from you, or to talk you into giving it back. But I wouldn't give it back. I would keep it. It's yours, and it's preserved. It can't be destroyed. It's incorruptible. It's yours. You know, get in touch with it and hide it and keep it. It's a very valuable thing. That's my opinion.
I mean, it is truly a treasure. It's truly a saving, redeeming thing, you know. But it can't exist in the everyday samsara, in the whirlwind. You know, it can only exist in the inner world. What do you think, Gary?
Oh, I'm just so impressed with that analysis. But you know, I guess the only thing that I would add, because I think both what you said and what Roy said were both spot on, is that like if you've already done some analysis and and you felt, and like analysis, if it's done as just as analysis without like the emotional component, I think that could feel like you're just kind of being taken apart and reduced almost. And so, you know, this could also be like a reflection on, okay, you know, the analysis created this dead horse with its parts on the ground, you know, and the parts were all just mechanical. They had lost all their life. And I think what this might tell you, if you did the analysis, is that no, go back and look at this again. What you had inside was magical, and you need to come back to the essence of that.
Yeah, the heart, you know, the inner heart, you know, is, what is that they say? You have a one face that you have for the outer world, another face you have for a family, and then the face that you have when you're all alone. What I was thinking when you said that, Gary, is what I found. I mean, the soul told me that unless you can take a dream and you can add all four functions, you have to add sensation, you have to have intuition, you have to have thinking, and you have to have feeling, you know, particularly feeling. And there has to be an emotional component to it. So you know, often the way we represent it is that we're the medium of expression and also the organ of clarity for these symbols. Now, the medium of expression has no words, but what we add to it is sensation by the drawing. Then we add feeling and emotion with the colors, which make the heart sing, you know. And then we add the clarity of intuitive thinking, which is symbolic thinking. You know, it's not directed thinking, you know, which is what we're doing right now, you know, is the directed thinking. Okay, Kevin, let's hear your you often
Yeah, I don't have
surprise the hell out of me with your analysis.
No, I really don't have any much. I am more now. I really more want to know about your male figure in your dream. If you have any associate, like what do you think of this male figure? For me, it's more like they're like, you know, what's this male figure in your dream? Can you say something about this male figure, Don?
In this dream, no, there was no details. But if it's true what Craig said about him representing my animus, I have other dreams where the animus is either like not there where he's supposed to be, he's gone, he's left, or just that there's, I don't know, there's no relationship, there's no friendship, there's nothing there.
And what and your cat? You said it's blew its horn, but do you have any more associations to it at all? Like, did you have any specific behavior or anything?
No.
And my last question is the carousel. Do you have any association to carousel?
I've never liked them. They're slow. I don't know. They're just not fun.
They're not very fun. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't
They
really
go in a
don't have
circle though. They're a mandala of some kind. This is a broken mandala. Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't really have any thing to add here.
Okay. Well, let me kind of finish it because I just think this is absolutely beautiful, beautiful dream. And so we're is just that the treasure hard to attain. It is so lovely, and it so moves our heart that we want to show it in the outer world, you know. But it's a little too intimate, you know, to this treasure hard to attain. We have to keep it secret a little bit, you know. I mean, in other words, it is something that feeds us in the outer world, but it is too precious, and also has nothing to do with time and space. So again, I'm going to try to do this as if it's my own dream. because I think then I can not be speaking to any individual. I'm speaking to myself. Okay. If it was my own dream, what I would say is I have this being of total fascination, and I'll tell you, I've had these all my life. You know, I've always been this person like Sam I am in Green Eggs and Ham. You know, there's something that just totally fascinates me, and I'm so surprised no one else is fascinated by it. And I try to get them all. You know, would you like it in a boat? Would you like it with a goat? You know, I mean, I really do this, and you know, it's part of my naive. Uh, I'm a pretty naive person, really. I mean, I'm not very worldly. Let's put it that way. But anyway, I this object of fascination, I would want to share with the entire world. You know, but this is so. This is my inner treasure, and as they told Jung, or the soul told Jung, is that your law is no one else's law. You know, your treasure is no one else's treasure. You know, now anyone would be fascinated by the blue cat with horns, but once we bring it out of its inner environment and bring it into the outer world, it just automatically transforms into something else. Now that doesn't mean, as Roy said, that it's not there anymore. It is back. If we go back in, and like Roy says, I would never let this go. You know, if I was Dawn, I would draw a picture of the blue cat with horns and with me, you know, as a partner, at sitting together, you know, because this is my safest place. This is the place where I can feel very safe. And you know, that's what Joseph Campbell says. It's like having a $20 bill in your pocket. He says, you might not need the $20 bill, but it's nice knowing it's there. I mean, it gives a certain amount of it's a gyroscope, you know. It keeps us from going this way. So if we know that in here, but maybe only with ourselves, there is a blue cat with horns that we would like to share with the whole world. The only way we can really share it with the whole world is not with the blue cat with horns, but the being who possesses the blue cat with horns, who is us. So we need to go out into the world as the being who possesses the blue cat with horns, you know. And what would the being that possesses the blue cat with horns be like versus the being without the blue cat with horns? You know, I mean, that is a quality that is it really is so transformative as far as my thinking. If I am the owner of the blue cat with horns and I go out in the outer world, I feel different than I do if I'm just me. Does anybody else have any comments? But Dawn, thank you so much. Please keep them coming.
I just wanted to ask.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask if she has any medium of expression,
art or
music or any such thing.
I like to dance, but it's not anything that, it's nothing to boast about, and it's no particular form. I just enjoy doing it, and I love music. It's personal.
Yeah.
You know, actually, that could be really useful for this because
Gary's expert on this. Now, Gary, what would you do if you were going to dance this?
Okay, because you know, but you're not a professional, you know, like ballet or something is actually better, because I think what you want to do is, you know, you want to find movements that, you know, embody what this blue cat with the horns actually feels like, you know, because what you're trying to get at is you're trying to get at the feelings and the emotions of this. And so what you like to do, you know, free form dance, which is just the perfect thing to do for this, is, you know, I would imagine the cat, try to feel what it feels like inside, and then create a dance for it.
Mhm. You know, I know a guy who's a fabulous dancer. I mean, he actually teaches dance, all kinds of dances. You know, and my father was a ornithologist, and I kind of inherited the ornithology from him. And so in my office, there were all kinds of birds pictures in my office. And he came in there one time, and he just looks at him, and without saying a word, he became a bird. You know, he suddenly, I'm not, now see, he's not a person who goes in and imitates animals, but he's just, his ability to use his body as a medium of expression in movement was just so incredible. And I'm sitting there, I'm just astonished because I see a bird. That's not him anymore. He became the bird in the idea. Now that is just, I don't know. Gary is very good at this. I mean, at least works on it, on movement. Like, can you describe any interesting experiences you've had with your movement exercises, Gary?
Well, you know, it actually kind of reminds me of reading, you know, the Red Book for Our Times. And in there, you know, and it's a series of essays, but in there, you know, one of the authors, you know, they discuss, you know, they were in you know, an actor's troupe that were putting on the Red Book as a play.
Yes.
And, you know, and so, you know, he said, well, when I became these characters, and, you know, he gained, like, you know, he felt like he was Philemon, you know, he gained like all these, you know, additional understandings that he didn't have before when he first read the book. And so, you know, it's this whole idea of, you know, there's one level of understanding at an intellectual, and you read it and you're kind of like, you logic it through, and then there's like a whole different level of understanding when you start looking at the emotional aspects and you try to actually feel like, you know, like what were these people and what were these characters going through, and you know, and he describes some of the new understandings that he came to, you know, about Jung's work. And so, you know, for dreams, you know, you can treat it the same way. You can look at the dream. This is a play. This is a play that was created for you. And so, you know, doing dream amplification is a really important thing to do, to tell, you know, your inner world, your subconscious, that, oh, you know, I heard that, I respect it, I'm responding back, I'm working with it in all the ways that I can.
Well, and I would say, I don't know if anybody's read the second dream that she had, or that Dawn had, but it is reading that other dream, I think that we missed one part of the blue cat with horns. It is that it is an instinctive part of us. So the cat is our instinctive life, the one that is our you know, when the instincts, when the animals are near, the instincts, and the instincts represent the archetypal forces within us. You know, they're the biological aspects of us. Now remember, we are biological beings, the DNA, the animal side of us tends to be de-emphasized because of this thing up here, which its sickness, this thing up here, is that it is separated from the instinctive life, and in her Dawn's second dream. Hi, Charles. In Dawn's second dream, she just got out of her car. So this is a vehicle of the ego. She's parked in front of her house. She's parked in front of the psyche. On the passenger side door, a kitten is caught. Her instincts are trapped in her own ego, the vehicle of the ego. So now she uses, the ego is trying to help the instinctive part of ourselves from being trapped. It's trying to release its bondage in the ego. I mean, the fact that it's not free. It's not free to roam. It's confined. Okay, and she does finally bring it out, but her instincts are not her ego, and it is totally foreign to ego. It's nature. It's wild, and it gets away from us. In other words, the ego. So again, the instinctive part was trapped in us, but I think both dreams say, to some extent, and this has been my problem my whole life, is my remoteness from the instinctual world. So I would see dogs come out of the basement that I'd forgotten about for 20 years. They'd been trapped down there, like the kittens trapped in the door. Had been trapped down there for 20 years, hadn't been fed, nourished, or anything, and I open the door and they walk up. They're just a skeleton, a thin dog that has been undernourished, and that was my instinctive life, undernourished. So, I would say, so there was a distorted part of my, I was too one-sided. Does anyone else have any comments on that dream? I can put it in there, Charles. I think you were going to give us a dream too, but Dawn, that's very, very good. I mean, I didn't really think about it until I saw your second dream.
I mean, I guess, to me, this shows that, that you haven't made peace with your instincts. It's like, first off, they're squeezed into, too tight a space that, that they shouldn't have been put. And they need to be, they need to be free.
More space.
They need more space. Yeah, exactly. That's really a great way of putting it. But, but because, they have been trapped, watch out when they're released. In a way, it's a bit of a warning, but, but I think it also says that you need to work with it.
Yeah, the ego is still not at peace with the instincts yet. It's given them more space, but there's more work to do. Roy, do you have any comments?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I feel like being a male, I was like declawed, and any type of aggressive action, I was punished for it, and I felt like it disengaged me from my instincts. And I have a secret person in me. I call him Little Boy, and he hides in the bushes. He's connected to my instincts, and I don't tell anybody about him. Even though I'm saying something now, people don't care. But he's my friend, and he's wild. I don't try to grab him or to intimidate him or push him into doing anything. I let him be really free who he is, and let him grow. He's sort of my secret entity. and I believe this blue cat with horns is like that for you. You know, just watch it grow and let it be, and it will communicate with you. Like you go to the grocery store, you can say you want to go to the grocery store with me, and it might go and it might not. But it's your friend, but you have to give it lots of freedom and 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 do it like you're befriending somebody that you really want to be friends with. That's what I have to say.
I actually do this when I'm riding in a car. I reach over and take the anima's hand, you know, and I'll you know, caress her in the seat, empty seat next to me, you know, just so that wherever I go, the anima and I are together. I wanted to read this other dream, which is very close to the dreams I've had, that people are telling uh, Dawn that she has a little black kitten in a box that she's not feeding, she's not nourishing. We all have a little black cat in a box that we're not nourishing. And we feel certain they must be wrong. But we look in it, and it's there. Now, see, this is the same dream I had, that we all have this instinctive part of ourselves that we're that's what makes us sick, you know, is that we're so far away from it. Now contrast that to say the Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, you know, who live in total synchronization with the natural world, you know, and haven't been you know, they live. I doubt that they very often would, and that the ego is more part of the landscape itself. So, for us to get back to that place, we need to be conscious of the animal parts of ourselves, and we need to feed it. We need to give it room. It needs to have space in our awareness. See, giving it space in our awareness is space. You know, it's one thing to have space over here and we ignore it and not feed it, but it needs the instinctive part of ourselves. You know what Joseph Campbell used to say whenever he went into the forest, and this is Marie-Louise von Franz said this too. She said, when people told her about Eastern meditations, and she says, for us, we need to go into the woods and into the nature, and we need to interact with it. You know, one thing Michael Harner, who's the shaman guy, you know, would do if you're going to come to one of his seminars, he would want you to, before you came, he'd want you to go out into your, around your home or someplace, and he'd want you to bring 10 things that you found in nature that you didn't know were there. I'll tell you, you bring those 10 things and you look at them in your hotel room waiting for the next day, they're just totally magical, you know, and like one thing, you know, I told this several times, but it is absolutely true. Go look at the bark of a tree. Go look at the bark of 10 trees. And it's amazing, you know, and what it is healing too. There's a healing aspect to it. But anyway, that's a great dream series, Dawn, and try to bring some more, because this is what we're going to try to do is get a dream series going for all of us, so we can kind of say, well, look here, the ego's like this here, the ego's like that there. So now we got a kind of a picture of what the soul thinks our ego is like. Okay, Charles, I think you were going to bring us a dream, weren't you?
Yeah, I have the one that I pasted last time.
Yeah, all right. Let me see if I have it here.
Here, I can.
Is that the one? Oh, wait.
I put it in chat again.
Yeah, okay, good. Because I got a bunch of them that say Charles Dream in it. Okay, all right. Right. Let's see. I'm copying it into my Word document because I can kind of see it better. Right. That was beautiful, Dawn. I'm glad, and thank you for sharing too. That was wonderful. Okay. And I'm very intrigued, and I'll be thinking about it all week probably. That's the way I never, you know, these genuine products of the psyche. Everyone, no matter who does it, they speak to all of us. You know. Okay, now I was in the bedroom of a house with a male artist. We were sitting on the floor using colored sand. Oh, do you want to say? Why don't you read it?
Sure. Yeah, I'll read it. I was in the bedroom of a house with some male artists, and we were sitting on the floor using colored sand to make something. And we got colored sand all over the carpet, and I began to vacuum it up when all of a sudden I heard a loud crash. And a truck had driven into the front of the house, and I looked, and the house was pretty much fine. I began to change clothes so that I can address the situation. But when I'm done changing clothes, the truck is gone, and the front of the house had just about completely collapsed. I began to run down the street after him, and I see him go into a house, and from the sidewalk, I begin to yell and curse at him. And a woman next door comes outside and is upset with me, and she thinks I'm yelling at her. I tell her it is her neighbor I'm upset with. It actually turns out to be the man's mother, and she scolds him, and he comes sulking down the street towards the house that he destroyed. And he's not happy and seems quite ashamed, but he reaches the house to repair it, and somehow it is already back to normal.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just start on it again. I mean, like in Dawn's dream, I didn't know where we were going to go, but whenever I see a blue cat with horns, I always know something's going to happen. Okay, I'm in the bedroom of a house with a male artist. Okay, now it's not clear that this is a shadow figure. It's a creative figure. Okay, some type of a creative figure. So we are sitting on the floor using colored sand to make something. Okay, that's so. So this male person and us are cooperating to create something. We're in a collaboration. We got the colored sand all over the carpet, and I began to vacuum it up when all of a sudden I heard a loud crash. Okay. Now that's a good start to the dream. Okay. Now we go into this second phase. A truck had driven into the front of the house, and you looked, and the house was pretty much fine. Okay. All right. So that's kind of the end of the situation with the colored sand. Okay. Now I begin to change clothes so I can address the situation. But when I am done changing clothes, the truck is gone, and the front of the house had just about completely collapsed. And that was, something that we didn't see earlier. It looked, the house was fine. So must have been when the truck extricated itself, it had damaged some supports, and so now they fell. So now we begin to run down the street after the truck. Okay. Now we see the truck and the man go into a house, and from the sidewalk we begin to yell and curse at him for, what do they call that? Fleeing the scene, fleeing the scene of an accident. Okay. A woman next door comes outside and is upset with me. She thinks I am yelling at her. I tell her that it's her neighbor I'm upset with. One time, you've heard my dogs bark, and late at night they were barking, and I go out and I yell really loud, "Shut up!" Well, the neighbors across the street, I hear them say, "Oh, we're sorry. We'll tone it down." I was talking to the dogs. But anyway, the woman next door comes outside and she's upset with me. She thinks I'm yelling at her. So now this is a feminine figure. And Charles, we need to see more feminine figures or in your dreams, or we need to identify something as the feminine in the dream, even if it's not a woman. Okay. So now this is the woman next door. She's upset. We are yelling at a shadow figure. Now this is definitely a shadow figure who has damaged our psyche and then left, and is not taking responsibility for it, and so the ego is trying to defend the fact that the psyche is now injured by the shadow, and he's in hiding, and so we go to protest, and then the anima comes outside, and she's upset with the dream ego. She thinks we're yelling at the shadow. She thinks we're yelling at the anima, and you tell her, no, it is the male neighbor that you're upset with. Now, this is the shadow's mother. Right? Is that right, Charles?
Yeah.
It's the truck driver's mother. So she scolds him, and he comes sulking down the street toward the house he destroyed. He's not happy and seems ashamed. He reaches the house to repair it, and somehow it's back to normal. Whew, that's beautiful. The end is amazing. So anyway, this part of the dream, let's just go through it. The first part. Let's start one more time. You're in the bedroom of a house with the male artist. So in the psyche, you are cooperating. I think this is a figure that is going to represent the self more than a shadow. Something to do with the creative aspect. It's objective. It's not us. It's art, and we're sitting on the floor with this figure, not working on our own problems, but working on a objective, creative thing like a symbol. Okay, and it's colored, so it has feeling in it. And what's your psychological type, Charles? Do you know?
Oh, I hardly know anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would guess that you're an introverted, intuitive thinking type. So I'm just guessing. So I would say that your sensate is one of your lower, although you're a musician, and that's related to the male artist, I think. But anyway, so then you hear a loud crash. So this work that we've been doing with the inner being, is suddenly interrupted by the shadow of the ego, a truck driver, and he drives into this place where this very feeling function art is being done, and and then he drives off, and it's collapsed. So now our sacred vessel is our hermetically sealed vessel of the creative work is been opened up to the outer world, so it's no longer sacred anymore. It's opened up to the outer world. And then so this is like horrible, and so then we go down to find him, because basically we want him to do what he does at the end, is correct it. And we find out that the mother of the shadow is there, Now, who would the mother's shadow be? Would she be, if the shadow has a mother, and the shadow is the rejected part of ourselves, is the mother at all related to us? I wouldn't think so. I don't feel that in my head that she says anything to do with us. But anyway, what she does do is the eros side of the shadow is at least a healing thing that gets the shadow to repair the damage it does, and it does it almost magically. Okay, Roy, what do you think?
Yeah, if it was my dream, I would say Charles was doing a creative thing with a friend, and he's interrupted. He changes clothes, so he puts on a different persona. He goes out to confront this thing, and he chases him down the street, and he finds the house, and the mother says, "Oh yeah, it's my son," and he fixes the house. This is a redemption dream. This is redemption, I believe, because when you change clothes, you got a different persona, and you took action, and you communicated very well, and the animal liked that. And she corrected all this for you so you can start over back creative. This is a really cool dream.
Yeah, she does seem to be like a mediator between, and she's definitely one who can fix things. She fixes the psyche. She gets the shadow to show remorse. And she listens to the ego and is compassionate. So starts out with this artist with the self, then the shadow intervenes and wrecks things. The ego is trying to reconcile it with the shadow. The feminine comes in and resolves everything. What do you think, Gary?
Okay, so you start out and you're doing the creative work, maybe with the self, which is all pretty cool. So you hear the loud crash, you look, and when you are within this aspect, you see no issue. But when you change your aspects, when you change your persona, you realize that actually there's a very large issue that's outside of your the creative work that you do. And then that you have this interaction with possibly a rather negative aspect of the Great Mother, but you find that and initially she responds negatively to you, but by working with her, she's able to redirect the shadows. So to me, this is like, it's almost like predictive. It's almost like saying, okay, you're going to have this thing, you're going to see that in this other persona, which you need to occupy, there is an issue, and you're going to have, problems that you're going to have to work out with the Great Mother. But by working with her and then the shadow, then you can undo the damage. That's how I kind of read it.
I think you're right that this is not it could be a mother / anima or something, but she's definitely identified as the mother or as the eternal feminine. Now the Great Mother is at the same point so she intersects with the transformative anima as well. So she's both elemental, she's related to nature, but she's also at the same center as the transformative aspect. Kevin, do you have any additions?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just more interested in the work in the bedroom. Charles, is this your place, your house, or was
No,
this
this is
just
a house
a
I've
house?
never been to before. I didn't recognize.
It's a house you never been to before. Is this a big, small? What kind of house is this?
It's a kind of average size house in a suburban neighborhood.
And you said you're working with sand, colored sand. What kind of color was this?
I don't know. I just remember it being just kind of all types of bright colors. This was a little while ago. This is one of the ET dreams.
And in the shadow figure, have you seen him in the dream before?
You know, I can't really remember exactly what he looked like.
Yeah.
The guy that I was playing with the sand with, I don't even know if I hardly got a glimpse of his face. It was kind of interesting.
Okay. So I would say perhaps it's a creative figure which is somewhat unconscious, but you're still interacting with it. Do you feel a creative sort of force in him, or is this just a play which doesn't really lead to anything?
I think that that it had to be some type of creative force that he represented.
Yeah. Well, I don't have much to add for what already been said. I just like to ask questions about figure. I feel like I said, for me, it's always about making unconscious conscious. So I like to spend time with this figure and feel their qualities, and so I can drag them up into my awareness, just drag them little by little. But so yeah, that's what I would do. It's because the problem comes, you have this play, you can say the exposition of the dream, and obviously the tension is the the truck running into this, like Craig said, your creative house. And the lysis is obviously, the lysis is just verbal, and the lysis is shame, basically. It's a shame of something. It's a shame of your shadow doing something stupid. The shadow is disturbing your creative connection with your creative force. And for me, I would spend time on that figure, the creative force, most, because it's the one that I think is most conscious. And disturbance comes when you engage with this creative force. That disturbance comes. There is a new figure that constellates, it disturbs this. And I wouldn't want anyone to disturb this creative activity, because that could be your bridge. The rainbow bridge is only the god can go. So in mythology, there is a bridge, and I don't know if you've seen the movie Thor, where only the gods can go, and the human has to go under the bridge, and the bridge is the connection between your ego and the archetypal realm. And the fact you're playing with the color sand, for me, you build castle with sands. You're building a connection to the archetypal reality, which is with a very unconscious still shadow. And for me, that perhaps is the sand play. And so now it's being disturbed by a more feminine figure for some reason. Yeah, so that's all I have to say.
Okay, well, let me try to sum it up here a little bit. It starts out with the dream ego is in cooperation with an artist, and in creating something nonverbal with a very strong feeling function, and they're trying to create something, and there was a certain amount of a clanging note to that, because they got a lot of it all over the carpet, so there was an aspect there that was not necessarily fortunate. And at that point, when the art seemed to spill over, and it was sort of interfering with the ego world, so it had to do some housework. Suddenly you hear a loud crash outside. Okay, so so the this art episode had a couple bad things happen. One is that it messed up ego, a little bit. I mean, there was this aspect of it where it was a disturbance to ego, a little bit, okay? And ego is trying to adapt to that disturbance. And then there is this big calamity of that the shadow has completely wrecked this enterprise with running into the psyche and colliding with the psyche in a loud crash. Okay, and then at first it seemed like the house is fine, but then like Roy, or I think it was either Roy or Gary was pointing out, you change clothes so you can address the situation in the outer world. So you're moving from the inner world that's been disrupted here by two things, where there was something happening that was supposed to be symbol creating. It kind of, ended up in it did not. There was an unfortunate ending. Okay, and so the one who does the artwork in the inner world puts on his outside clothes so he can address the situation. So now we've moved out of the inner world, remember, back into the outer world now, and we go after the shadow who has done this and then just disappeared and left it in ruins, and so we go out and try to find them. We find them, they're in taking shelter with the Great Mother, okay, or the anima. They're taking shelter with the feminine within us, and the feminine within us is going to be our advocate for this aspect of ourselves that was so disruptive, and it tells this aspect that it has to apologize, has to come down and rectify the situation, and it does. So the feminine, and this is something, like Dawn was saying, that she doesn't get to see her animus much of the time, and I often had a problem of having the anima look me in the eyes, and Charles, it's whenever we see the feminine in your dreams, it's good. And here the feminine is showing up. She's the healing force in the psyche, and so she sort of resolves the crisis that started a little bit with the sand, the artwork, getting it wasn't artwork anymore. Now it's starting to just mess up things. I don't know exactly what that means, but Roy, do you have any comments? Or
No, I'm just calling it a redemption dream.
Yep. Okay. Well, it is. What do you think, Charles? I mean, do you have any aspect? Pretend it was your dream.
Right. I think now that I'm kind of remembering the dream more, I think we were actually just using the floor on our art that we were making. We were just putting it all over the floor. Mm-hmm. And vacuuming it up, I think maybe speaks to that where it's not in a very permanent format.
Yes. It's not necessarily negative.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what I'd think about it. And all the colors get kind of sucked back up into something. Yeah. So I don't know exactly what I think about it. But the ET dreams have obviously a theme of just something coming out of nowhere and just kind of colliding into my
Mhm.
existence.
Could you sum up the ET dreams? How many did you have, you think?
I mean, it was like a month and a half long
Oh,
period
okay.
of dreams every night.
Yeah, it
That-
started out with your shadow figure saying that there's an alien presence in your house or something
Mhm.
that you were unaware of, which was
Right.
very disturbing and was a nightmare to you. And then you had a series of dreams which seemed to be the aftermath of this. So this is kind of one of those. Well, we got about 10 minutes left. Does anybody want to just tell us the dream we can work on next time, or?
Well, I did want to mention just
Yeah.
very briefly a crazy dream that I had the other night.
Sure, definitely.
Where it was another hamster dream.
Mhm.
There's like a wall of fish tanks. They all had blinds on them, like that you see in like on a window. And I have the hamster in my hand, and he's like, my arm is in the wall of fish tanks, and I can't see where the water is. There's little pockets of air. I'm trying to maneuver him around into the pockets of air so he doesn't drown, obviously. My shadow is right there, and I'm like, why won't my shadow just break these dang break the wall of glass? Like, I'm desperate for him to just break this glass so that my hamster doesn't drown to death. And I'm maneuvering him around, and I eventually get him out. And I have my hamster, and I'm like, well, I need to put him in some sort of resting place. And there's a little cardboard thing that I made, and I put him in there, and then he magically turns into my daughter. But my daughter is this absolutely alien creature, not necessarily scary, but this strange creature with a big head and a skinny little neck. And this woman is there. She's like, oh, she's so cute. Can I hold her? And I'm like, sure. And I hand her over to her, and she kind of grabs her. She's not like, and she's got this real big heavy head and this scrawny little neck. And I'm like, no, you have to be more gentle with her. Like, you'll hurt her. Her neck is so tiny and thin. And she looks like some strange cartoon character. And yeah, that dream was just really, really bizarre. But another hamster dream, and another dream where I have a daughter. It was very strange.
Often when we see the daughter, that means that the nature side of us needs to be subservient, or not subservient, but in a second position to the clarity aspect, and I think it's particularly important in your case, that the part of you that is in the nature realm, which would include the hamster and would include the fish tanks and would include all that, they need to be in second place to a strong ego consciousness, which would be this logos side. So the dream is telling you that you need to be take some kind of parental role or something in regards to the unconscious. I would say it's more of a that there needs to be a partnership, but the ego needs to be a little more forceful. Now, in the case of the hamster and the fish tanks, do you know how many fish tanks there were, or just the whole wall? And then they had a veil over them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could still see through it. I don't know exactly what the blinds meant, and I'm not sure if the blinds were on the front or the back, or if they're in the fish tanks. They might have been in the fish tanks, but I mean, it was just a gigantic wall of fish tanks.
Yeah, well, the fact that there is some kind of a veil is very mysterious. We got to talk about that veil, and the fact that, okay, there are quaternities full of the water of life in a magical wall of quaternities, a magical wall of the waters of life. Now, this this hamster figure within us tends to represent, I think, as far as its recurring theme is concerned, it is an instinctive part of ourselves, but it is it needs to be smaller. You know, again, say as the ego needs to be have a parental quality, the instinctive life in us needs to also be able to be controlled by the ego. So, in other words, the ego needs to be. Roy, how about you? You look like you have some comments.
Yeah, this hamster again. Charles seems to feel very safe with the hamster. And it might be something in his inner world that represents something where he feels safe, he feels he has sovereignty, but it can't go into the conscious world, the real world. It doesn't fit. And we're running along the theme again now that you discover something inside yourself that's very fragile. I'll relate it to the little child. It's incorruptible and it's preserved, but it's not ready to come into the conscious world and the real world, and it might never be. And so you have to develop a different personality that interacts in the conscious world. And Charles was working on that. In the first dream, he changed clothes. He had an assertive personality, and he solved his problem. And that's the personality that he needs to operate in the outside world. The hamster is very, very valuable, and it's his, and he can protect it, but it's not something that you use in the outside world.
Gary or Kevin, do you have any final thoughts on this?
No, I just really like what Roy said there. I thought, oh yeah, that really fits.
Well, yeah, and Charles, if you can send us the text of that, then we can start on it next time. How about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I don't know. I find it interesting, if I heard it correctly, that the hamster transformed from a girl to this alien-like baby.
Yeah,
Is that
we haven't
correct?
even got into that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
No, I mean, I'm just saying.
Okay,
Yeah, I
just
forgot
wanna
all about that. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, um, Charles, does this in any way feel like the hamster you had in previous dreams, or do you feel like this is like a different hamster?
I think all the hamsters are seem to be the same one, actually.
Because if it seems to be the same one, I mean that's a very big information. You know, the psyche is saying your hamster could also be this woman, or is perhaps an anima figure, or perhaps an alien figure, and perhaps also saying it's all three of them.
Mhm.
And that it has made a transformation, because if it has become a girl, you know, she cannot drown in that perhaps fish tank or alien figure. She has somewhat become, the energy has transformed. But you said like the cartoon. What kind of cartoon did you say it reminded you of?
I would have to draw it. If I were, I don't know if you've ever seen the cartoon Real Monsters, but
Real monster.
yeah, it was like a mid-90s cartoon. There's the girl from that reminded me of this creature that my daughter was. The creatures in that show are pretty grotesque, so it kind of gives you an idea.
Greg, will we have more time talking about this dream, because
We'll take it up
a lot of
Wednesday.
information.
Yeah, if you can.
Okay, Wednesday.
And Charles, Charles,
Yeah,
I was hoping that you could you send again the drawing you made of the vessel with the hamster in it?
Yeah, I can try to get that onto a picture.
Along with the text of the dream.
Yeah,
Well,
I could do that.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I was thinking, since we are wrapping up, I don't really have much to say now because it's so much information. I think I mean, this dream is priceless in terms of the meaning of your hamster.
Mhm.
So yeah, but we'll probably talk more about.
Yeah, we'll
this.
talk about it Wednesday. And Dawn, I really want to thank you for sharing, and I just want you to know that nobody here is we're all learning here. Don't you think? All feel that way? I mean, and it's and the dreams are our dreams are all written by the same being, you know. So your dream, my dream, and everything can speak to all of us, and yours certainly did. And I like the fact that you gave us a series of 3 dreams. So try to accumulate anything you have in the future, and I really appreciate you sharing. So anyway, we'll start next Wednesday with Charles' dream, and Kevin and Roy and Gary, you know, get cracking on this thing, you know, and Dawn will always, you know, go do one of yours as soon as you have it. So anyway, we'll meet next Wednesday at the same time. So thank you, everybody. It was very productive. I really enjoyed it. So we'll see you guys next time.
All right. See you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Charles.